Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about my path to financial independence, some of the steps I took, and maybe some of the steps I took you can implement in your own lives. Like so many others, I was climbing the corporate ladder. I was putting in my time, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, trying to get to that next level, working as much as I could to prove myself that I should get the highest raises to get to that next level. I found myself in a management position. I looked around at everyone else that was the next level above me, and I saw they were working more than ever, working as much as I was with, no one else to prove but I guess to themselves or just traditional corporate work experience. But I just could not see myself in that next level. I decided to take a different path, um, and this is what this is all about. So I hated the cycle, and I think everyone knows what the cycle is. It's the get up early, scramble around, get maybe a quick breakfast, rush off to work, drive through traffic, scramble to get to your desk, turn around, work 10, 11, 12 hours, maybe grab a quick lunch in between there, rush home, grab a quick bite to eat, maybe sit down on the couch with a beer, watch some Netflix or the game. Try not to think about the next morning and how you're going to have to get up and do the exact same thing all over again. Work your weekends, well, because hey, you're needed, the overtime is needed. We need to work the weekends. Then when Sunday rolls around, getting a case of the Sundays where you're worried about having to go and do it all over again. Absolute madness. But between looking at the next level above me and looking at the work life, I decided I needed to do something different. So what did I do? I typed in Google, how to retire early. I came across an odd blog called Mr. Money Mustache and a blog article posted the simple math behind early retirement. The chart illustrated that based on your savings rate, the earlier you could retire. And the inverse, the longer that you didn't save, the longer you would have to work. Seems like basic math. And it got me thinking, could I really retire early? Could I really increase my savings rate? I really wasn't saving much at the time. If anything, most of it was just going into a 401k. And that was really the only savings. I was spending everything else that I made. I started digesting everything I could on early retirement. I found I necessarily didn't want to save up 25 times my annual expenses to reach financial independence like so many in the FIRE community. That was just too long. Looking at where my savings rate was, it was going to be everywhere another 15 years. Of course, now 15 years is better than the 30 years that I was currently looking at based on my savings rate as it was. So I started looking at alternative ways that were not based on savings rate, but based on income generated by business or real estate. I settled on both real estate and business. But first, let me take you back to some of the things that I realized through my research with the FIRE community. The first thing was my biggest expense was definitely my home. My home was a 3-bedroom, 3-bath with a pool, 2-car attached garage, 3-car detached garage, with things that I just didn't have time to use because I was working my life away and trying to get that next thing that was going to make my life better that I could buy. Renting out my primary residence was my first step to financial independence. I needed to find a way to reduce my expenses while generating more income. And real estate was going to provide that for me, and I already had a house and just needed to find a new place to live. So after renting out my primary house and making a profit on the difference between the mortgage and the rent, I found a condo that I was going to purchase that was a very, very affordable condo. And I ended up purchasing that property. And instead of moving into it, I saw how well I was doing on my primary residence. I decided to rent that out. So now, in the course of 2 months, I had 2 rental properties, and they were covering the mortgages, and the other was making a profit where I was making more and more income. The next step is where it gets a little crazy, where I hope you decide to take this path with a grain of salt and realize it's not necessarily for you, but it's the path I took just because I wanted to get there as quick as possible. So I decided to ask my sister to move into her camper that was in her backyard, not being used, and I paid her a little bit of rent for me to live in this camper while having my corporate job and my 2 rental properties. After living in the camper for the first month, I quickly realized there was lots of benefits to living in the camper that I wasn't even aware of. I realized that I was able to focus on what are the things that brought me joy and simplify. I could not fit that many things in the camper, so I had to decide what were the things that I wanted to keep day to day in my life. My books are one thing, my phone is another, my laptop, and your clothes, and really everything else wasn't needed. And it just really allowed me to focus and then focus on my planning of what were the next steps. I decided to continue looking at real estate. I wanted to do something different. The rental properties that I had acquired now, 2 of them, it was going to take me at least another 8 to get to the point where I was able to replace my income or come to financial independence. And looking at mortgages and things like that, it was going to be pretty difficult after 4 or 5 to get more properties. So I started to look at what could I house hack. A book called Set for Life by Scott Trench really illustrated his path. He was able to house hack his way into independence. His advice was to buy a duplex to live in one side and rent out the other. And then a year goes by, 2 years goes by, go find another duplex and go do the same thing, and now generate income from both sides of the duplex and get another duplex. In the end, everyone that's renting from you is covering your mortgage expenses and paying you an income. This really rang true as a great path. It not only made your biggest expense go away, but you were making an income and you had a place to live. So I started thinking of ways I could implement this in my own life, and duplexes in areas where I'm at is not really the places that I wanted to live. So I ended up finding a large home near a downtown area that needed a substantial amount of work, but in a great area. And the house ended up having quite a few rooms that I was able to get ready to rent on Airbnb. And quickly I was seeing that Airbnb was doing much more than I was doing with my long-term rentals. The very first month I covered my mortgage. The second month I covered double my mortgage, and the fourth month 3 times my mortgage. The cash flow on Airbnb dramatically changed my financial picture. So now it's going on to almost 2 years since I purchased my property for Airbnb. I've reached financial independence. All my bills are covered by my Airbnb, and I was able to leave the rat race. I was able to quit my 9 to 5, 9 to 8, whatever you want to call it, job, and focus on the things that I really enjoy and what brings me joy. Airbnb has the ability to be mostly passive when hiring a cleaner and a property manager. Those things all cut into your bottom line. I do have a cleaner. I used to have a property manager. I now am doing the property management on my own. The Airbnb platform has really come light years now with the ability to do messaging automatically, that it made it a no-brainer to do it myself. Now I'm able to focus on things that bring me joy, and I enjoy things like fishing, hiking, camping, mountain biking, things that gets me out in nature. Am I retired? No, not at all. Things are still tight. I want some more space in between where I'm at. I decided that I want to do this journey as quickly as possible, so I had the time to figure out what I did want to do next. Not having a job has allowed me space to figure out other entrepreneurial projects that I want to get involved in that bring me joy as well. That's not just focused on the paycheck. I'll definitely be doing some videos on what I'm doing next. It has the potential to dramatically change my whole financial future. And I wouldn't have been able to to focus or work on those things if I was still working my job. My biggest advice to anyone that's watching this that's looking to leave their job is to, number one, start learning. Learn as much as you possibly can, listen to podcasts, read books. Second step would be to look at your expenses, put a budget together. You don't have to keep the budget, just understand where things are going, and do you agree with or put value on the things that you're currently spending money on. Third step is to take your basic expense, your housing. How can you use your property to reduce your expenses and eliminate debt? House hacking is the quickest way to finding yourself into financial independence. I challenge everyone to question what they truly want in life, set goals, and take action every day. It's amazing when you look back and see how far you've really come. If you like this video and like to see more of this type of video, please like and share. Thanks.